the cap will just sit there and spin. So you got to kind of know when it's done. There we go. And then comes out the entire rammer sleeve. So you know, you got your spring and poppet valve. It's a really tiny poppet valve with a really big spring on it. It just kind of sits there, so obviously unless you're shooting it. But this sleeve is a two-part sleeve. Just untwist it like that and pull out the hammer or the rammer or whatever else you want to call it. They like to call it a hammer. I like to call it everything rammers and keep it universal. You got a bumper O-ring on the top, then you've got one O-ring here, and then another little floaty, as I like to call them, which is just another bumper O-ring. Again, not really much to do with it. Just wipe the hammer down real quick, or rammer, depending on how anal you are on what the actual manufacturer calls it. Get, you know, a decent amount of grease on your fingers. Quickly put on there. Does your bumper O-ring need grease on it? Well, I know it does not, but I will put grease on it anyway. And then just get a little bit on the shaft, because nobody likes a dry shaft. Get that in the back. And that's your hammer maintenance. And so then all you would do is, you know, like I said, this back part will just spin and spin and spin. This is the back part of the, I believe they call it the hammer guide. Whatever, I'm going to call it the ram sleeve. This ram sleeve has one O-ring here, and there, and there, and there, and that's it. It's just the 4 O-rings on this back section. Do you need lube on it? No, none of these things are moving. These are all static O-rings. Yes, static O-rings. Just kind of rub a little bit of lube on the whole thing, because as many people know, I am superstitious. In here where the actual hammer goes, can't get your finger. Oh, come on, Q-tips. So I do what I call the Q-tip test. So if I want to know if it's dirty in there, or if I need to actually clean it out, I just shove this thing right into the wall and then drag it down and back up. Focus. So it comes out with a little bit of dirt. It's not really too bad. Just kind of work it around in there anyway. So it comes up with, you know, it's a little bit dirty, but it's definitely not too bad. Just kind of twist it around in there. There we go. I put enough lube on the hammer, rammer, whatever you want to call it, that I don't need to put any down in there, which is great because I'm not getting any fingers in it anyway. Set the rammer back in, like so. And now for the front section of it. This is where, you know, this is a corresponding part where your bolt pin will slide into. So, you know, it kind of rotates into that hole and then shoots back and forth like this. It's got 2 O-rings on it. It's got one in the front and one right there. And other than that, not a whole heck of a lot. Again, just gonna wipe her down. Get all the old lube off. Slightly wet my finger. A little bit there, a little bit there. Quickly rub down. Again, these are static O-rings. They're not going to be problematic. So I do not worry about them, typically. Get a fresh Q-tip. Do a little dip check. Quite a bit dirtier. So I'll just quickly run her in and out. There we go. And there you go. When you're putting this together, this used to be a big problem for people with the older versions. I think that they've corrected it. I believe I have an older version. Please focus in, please have good light. Tilt it. I really don't know how well you can see it, but right here there's a notch. That notch right there corresponds with a little tiny notch right here. I got my finger stuck in it. There's little knots there and little knots there. You really need those things to line up, because if you just tighten this thing down, there you go. Not sure how well this is showing up. I hope it's showing up well. They don't quite line up if you put it all the way in. This, the front piece screws just a little bit too much. So you want those two to line up. So just uncrack it and stick it like that. So these two will line up. Can you see it? I hope you can. Anyway, the reason for that is when you have the bolt in here, and it's going to be, yeah, there we go, and it's going to be flying back and forth, it becomes problematic because if this thing's a little bit off, the hammer and it don't line up quite right, and it kind of slides along the side here, along the guide. People have snapped bolts on, or not the bolt, I'm sorry, the bolt pin here off because it just causes too much friction. You get problems with inconsistency, and you have to raise your pressures and everything else. So always, and really, I just because I'm anal, after every single time I would go and play, I would always double check this. It doesn't really, rattle itself unscrewed or anything like that, but it is definitely something that you want to be careful of if you have an older one. I've been told, but cannot verify, that the newer ones, when they're fully tightened down, is when they are in the correct positions. But I would still double check that. So, here is the poppet. What are you going to say about a poppet valve? It doesn't have an O-ring on it or anything like that. You just stick it down in the hole. There we go. Just kind of plugs in there. And then the spring, my hands are already a little bit greased, but I put just a little bit of coating on it. And then it fit, you little bastard. It fits nicely right there on the, it has a little nipple on it that you stick it on. And then all you gotta do is stick her in. I'm putting this thing in upside down currently to show you something. Right here is a little pin, and I gotta pull it out anyway because I'm gonna screw up the spring. And that corresponds with a little guide notch right there. So when you're putting in your rammer housing, you need this little pin to go in the little pin notch, or else it's not going to work out. That's how everything, that's how this thing lines up, and that is why you need these two pieces to be at the right spots, or else this notch that it's supposed to slide in is not going to match up correctly with, come on, there we go, the little groove that's, or not groove, but the notch that's cut in this part. And then it's going to sit there and rub on the wall until you eventually screw something up. So, stick the poppet there, and then the spring on. Don't give me crap. Do not give me crap. Stick her in like so. The pin does not match up. There we go. Get it in there, and then just screw her closed. There. So as you will see now, hopefully, the hammer is right up there on the front, waiting for the bolt to go in it. If you have your hammer pushed forward in that guide and you put it in here, you're gonna have to shove something down in it, probably a Allen key or something, to try to kind of drag it backwards, because you will not get the bolt back into there if that hammer is not all the way back. A little pet peeve of mine. Every once in a while when I'm going too fast, not paying attention. Anyway, like I said, the bolt just kind of sticks in there, and it's not going to fall out. Stick it in like this, and then you slide it down. There you go. It's enclosed and ready to go. So that's the you know, that was the rammer, the bolt, and the poppet. Now you got the LPR. Again, this LPR just unscrews like many guns I'm sure you've tried out. There we go. Inside here, thanks to Shish Kebab that let me know that these things are called Schrader valves. It has one. Do not screw with it. If you know what you're doing, have fun, but I would never touch a Schrader valve. Never had any problems with a Schrader valve, and I don't plan on ever playing with one. I don't have the tools to correctly remove them or install them. So if you're having problems with that Schrader valve, then I would definitely find a tech or something like that. So here's the LPR. Really, really simple. It's just your little plunger plug thing here and a little spring with the cap that has the adjuster screw. Of course, you know, it has an LPR housing. You technically remove that if you wanted, but I don't see any reason why, unless you're having major leak problems. So for general maintenance, all it's going to be is to pull this out. I always like to rub my springs. There we go. Stick my finger along in here. Comes up fairly clean because I always keep my shit clean. And then you have the plunger with its 2 O-rings. Shouldn't ever be any problems with this really. I don't know how you'd blow them out. LPR's got low pressure, there's nothing sharp in there, but stranger things have happened. Maybe you let the gun sit around a little while too long, didn't have enough lube, they started to crack, whatever else. So just quickly wipe it off, take a little bit of militia lube, and I like my regulators decently greasy. Not sloppy, but decently greasy. There we go. It's just, like I said, those 2 O-rings. Get a little bit on the spring and put that on the little nipple on there. And then it goes, it goes butt side first. And then like that. And then in here, in the cap, I'm not sure how well it's going to show up, if I could ever get used to this camera. There's also a little nipple in there. So you got 2 nipples attached by the spring. And, you know, this spring is solid. It's going to stay right in that spot. And that's that Schrader valve that's moving this thing back out. So you just screw it right in. It's idiot proof. I don't know how you would screw it up. I'm sure somebody screwed it up. I'm sure somebody screwed it up a lot of times, but I don't know how you'd manage. That's an LPR, easy to get to, easy to work on. Definitely not like the LPR, which we will shortly be getting to. I'm not going to do a full frame dismantling. There's not really any reason to get in there unless your solenoid or something's messed up or you're switching out IR wires or something like that. So in the fact that we're already up in over 35 minutes and I don't plan on having a 2-hour video on this thing like I've done, you know, I've had really long ones with my other guns. I'm not going to take apart the frame. There's nothing in there. It's just wires and the solenoid. It's nothing fancy, nothing you're typically gonna have to worry about. Solenoids in general I don't like to work with. It has a gasket O-ring. You could switch that out. That's simple enough to figure out. But other than that, there's not really any reason to open up this frame unless you're switching out the trigger or some of the ridiculous crap. So yeah, I will move on to the HPR. There we go. Now, this HPR, the Gladiator that they put on these things, requires a wrench to take apart. You know, I'm not sure if it was the video that Mike did on this or if it was a different gun, but you know, he has the hand jobs. You know, Mike's world famous hand jobs that he loves to use on everything. That way he can get on there and just twist it off because it gives him so much extra grip. I don't have any hand jobs. I haven't bought any hand jobs. So I don't have that ability. If I really need to get something off and I can't manage, my paintball gloves have a little bit of rubber on them and I'll use those. Kitchen gloves work great as long as you got a decently tight pair. I do not like to take tools to it. But if you had to, come on. There we go. Here on the tip you can see that it takes a wrench. Hopefully, bad lighting and on black. Takes a wrench. But here's what I do. I don't tighten the damn thing down. You don't need to tighten down your regulators. Even, going into the gun here. Get out of the way, macro. When I'm tightening on a regulator, obviously this is not tight enough, but when you tighten it, or when you're tightening it and you get right to the pressure zone, I'm not putting any force, I'm just doing my typical spinning force, and when it stops, you're done. You might even be able to back it out a little bit, even an eighth of a turn out. This will not cause any leaks at all. Your gun's going to work fine, and it's going to make it to where you can easily get this thing off. If you're screwing around with your swivel a lot, it might lock it up a little bit, but you should always be able to get it off with your hand without a hand job. So yeah, I don't like to tighten things down. If I don't have to, why make extra work for myself? Also, if you need to get this LPR housing out, come on, right in there, there is a, you can see that little silver circular spot there in the middle. That will take an Allen key. What size? Try and find out. And that just is a retaining screw. You just screw that thing out and then you can push the housing out or pull it out or do whatever the hell you want to get it out. And then you can have fun realizing that there's not really anything there that you need to work on. So yeah, HBR. Again, I don't have this thing tightened amazingly down. If you can see here, even when I'm swiveling it, you can leave them that loose. So if I was tightening this thing down now, I would just gently put it in, maybe even tighten it down with the swivel. Just put it in. There's no reason at all to go tighter than that, because as long as this thing is not leaking, it does not matter. If you crank this thing down, you use a wrench on it, whatever else, and you can see that the milling on this thing doesn't really match up. Does that matter to me? No, it doesn't. Does it hold air? Yes, it does. Does it save me having to keep a wrench around? Yes, it does. So I don't like to tighten them down. No reason to, and I like to keep my gun toolless. So anyhow, get this thing off here. This is just the, it's just the swivel section. There's not really anything that you're going to do with it. It does have a little O-ring right there. If you want to lube it, you can. I believe you can even, I believe most people, as a matter of fact, leave it dry. But I like to put a little bit of lube on them anyway to keep it nice and plump. It has a little air filter. Again, MacDev and some other people say that the air filter keeps contaminants from getting into your gun. A lot of guns that don't have a filter, and they manage to survive just fine. So, is this needed? No, it is not. If you lose it or destroy it, do you need it on there? No, you do not. Does it probably stop something? I would 100% bet that it does, but I don't think it really matters. But for anal retentive people, filter. So now, I think they call this the bottom works and the top works and whatever else. I call it the bottom section and the top section. Again, I only have this thing slightly hand tightened. You can just grab the threaded section here and twist her off. It does have a section up top. Focus, focus, focus. Not sure if you can even see it. Goddamn lighting. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. It takes a fairly large, actually I'll just pull this out. It takes a fairly large Allen key. And then you could, if this thing was stuck on there, you could pull it off with the Allen key. But as long as you do not tighten the damn thing down with an Allen key, you should not have any problems. It's like when you have a car, if you put the damn lug nuts on with an impact wrench, you need an impact wrench to remove it. If you don't put it on, you actually use your hands because you're not lazy, then you'll be taking it off with your hands and saving yourself having to get an impact wrench every single damn time. So yeah, top works, bottom works, whatever the hell they call them. There's not really a lot going down here, or going on down here in the bottom works. It's got an O-ring here, and another O-ring there, and another O-ring along the outside here. They don't really do too much. There's no action on them. If you want to put a little bit of lube on them, be my guest. If you don't want to put a little bit of lube on them, and your gun is still holding air, it will not make any difference. Most of them are just compression O-rings anyway, and will do fine, decently dry. Top works, or whatever the hell it is where you are going to have your piston and your shims and everything else. This also has your adjuster screw in it. No reason to really pull it out. Well, I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure it has an O-ring or something on there. But in general, there's no real reason to pull it off and screw around with it. You can maintain your HPR without having to screw with that adjuster screw, so just leave it. That way you don't have to re-chrono your gun all the time. And this is the piston seat, that little red section there. So, top works. This is one thing I don't really like with the HPR. It's got a lot of shims and some extra pieces, but it's not a big deal. In this hole here, take an Allen key that freely fits in, put some pressure on this section here, that way it doesn't go exploding everywhere, and then just push it slowly. It's really easy to push, don't jam it. It might look like I'm putting in a lot of pressure, I'm not. But control it as you slide her out. Come on. There we go. Set this thing down here first. So yeah, this thing is empty. It's just the housing, sitting around doing a hell of a lot of nothing.